Welcome back to the Headway podcast. I'm Shane, your host, and joining me is Rachel.
In our last episode, we discussed the topic living with changes in your attention and concentration. Today, we're exploring a topic that resonates with many of us, living with changes in your planning and organising skills.
Our ability to plan and organise is a fundamental aspect of daily life. From managing schedules to setting goals, these skills contribute to our overall efficiency and success. However, life is dynamic, and various factors can lead to changes in our planning and organising abilities. Today, we dive into understanding these changes and discovering strategies to navigate them.
Joining us today are individuals who have experienced shifts in their planning and organising skills. Each guest brings a unique perspective to shed light on the crucial aspect of adaptation.
Now let's hear from our guests as they share their experiences and insights into living with changes and planning in their organising skills. All of our guests today will be sharing their personal stories. Up first, we have Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter. I had a brain injury 5.5 years ago. When I got out of hospital, I started to recover very slowly. I thought I was doing well. A lot of the time I thought I was fine. But the reality is a little bit different. Like me, you might think you're fine. But just because you can't see any difference now doesn't mean it's not there. It just means you can't see it now. Nearly 4 years after my brain injury, the reality of living with the changes caught up with me in a big way. I was doing a fairly small job at home, and everything kept going wrong. My planning and organising skills were gone. Completely gone. How could this happen? I thought I was fine. I was frustrated. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't think properly. I was angry. I was anxious. And then I started to feel completely useless. My thoughts were scrambled. I was really, really self-critical. I felt very isolated and lonely. Not a nice place to be. It was very hard in many ways. All of this added to everything else that wasn't working properly in my brain built up to lead me to believe that my wife and family would be better off without me. My wife got me to see a counsellor when she realised where I was mentally, and because of that, I got the help I needed then, at the time, to treat it, and thankfully to recover from that, to come out the other end. About 4 months later, I contacted Headway for the first time. That's about 18 months ago now. So it's not all bad news. Headway helped me to become aware of the effects of a brain injury, and more importantly, to accept the changes and realise for the first time that these changes were real and potentially permanent if you left them untreated. Bear in mind, I thought I was okay. I thought I was doing well. Reality was just a little different. Over the last 18 months, Headway worked with me and helped me to accept and understand the changes, helped me in a big way to correct them where possible and to adjust. Not just about planning and organising, but about myself, my relationships, and filling in all the gaps in my thinking that were caused by the brain injury. What I was just talking about was just one thing, but it was a bad one. There were loads of others, many others. I had to check with my wife every time we went out, even shopping, to see where we were going. My brain was scrambled, short-term memory and any sort of planning were completely gone, even for simple things. If we were heading out somewhere, where are we going? Remember, it's tough on you if you have a brain injury, but you still think you're fine. You're not. You're just putting the blame or the fault on everyone else around you. What's our problem? What's his problem? It's never about, it might be my understanding. Now, imagine the effect this all has on your relationships with your partner, your family, your friends, your boss, your co-workers who don't have a brain injury. The effects of living with changes in your planning and organising skills don't just mean you're the only one having difficulty. The reality is that people having to deal with you or treat you become increasingly worried that this might never change. And that can develop very quickly into a hopelessness for them. Especially if you keep saying you're fine and you're not admitting you need help and you do nothing about it, the despair and hopelessness starts to increase in the people around you. So do yourself and those around you a favour. Admit you need help. Call Headway. Identify and accept the changes in your brain and get treatment. This will have a huge effect on your recovery, trust me. Headway understand, they don't judge, they help. Good luck with your recovery.
I'm Stephen, and listening to you, Peter, the aspect of the people who are living around you and how it affects them, I haven't really considered too much, I would say. Probably because I lived on my own for many, many years. I learned, I could organise my life a bit, my work. There was chaos in there, but you thought that's just the way it is. And
Yeah.
But when you're actually living with people like I do now, my partner, she kind of points out to me some of my behaviours and explains probably your acquired brain injury, opens a window in a way to what I've been living with,
That's what happened with me.
I can get very antsy and agitated if things aren't ABC. I remember initially after the accidents when I came out of hospital, nearly everybody would say, you've changed. I'd become very argumentative. But to me, what was concerning was I didn't know what I used to be like. And I found that a bit frightening,
Yeah.
And it took a long time to move out of that sort of scared place,
Oh yeah, it does.
But I internalised a lot of it, which probably wasn't healthy. And
Yeah, I found the same. It was my partner pointed out to me isolation and hopelessness that she had. And this is like, for me, it was 4.5 years after my brain injury. And I was the same. I was anxious. I was angry. I mean, reactions were totally unpredictable. The biggest step for me was accepting that I needed help. I didn't know what help I needed, just knew I needed help.
Yeah.
And once I accepted it, then it was much easier to take that help on and try and work with it and recover the best way you can.
Yeah.
I know I'm not perfect. I'm not back to where I was. And in some ways I don't want to be. Actually, kind of happier now the way I am. So without Headway, that wouldn't have happened. And without the despair and the hopelessness that kind of pushed me to make that first contact with Headway and to accept I needed help, that wouldn't have happened.
Up next, we have Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I was swimming in the sea and I had my swimming cap on, and when I got out of the sea, I'd been in the sea for about half an hour, and when I got out of the sea, my cap was tight, so I pulled off my cap. And my theory is that the bleed had already started, and when I took the cap off, and I just collapsed and ended up on a heap and couldn't see. My friend was in the sea and I couldn't see him, so obviously it was a right hand bleed, and it affected all my left side. Some lines on my left side and nothing works on my left side. I've done therapy, I've done physio, I've done everything, and I think I'm as good as I'm going to get. Ambulance couldn't get down to me, so they got a helicopter. So the helicopter got me from White Rock Beach to Beaumont in 4 minutes, and I reckon that's what saved my life. The time.
Wow.
And like I say, every morning I wake up and say, thank God I'm alive. And I still swim, and I still go down the steps.
Oh, good on you.
Well, that just shows how resilient you are. It didn't stop you.
And when it comes to planning and organising, were you more organised before your injury, or would you feel like you're more organised now, and how did it differ?
I never thought of organisation before. I just did think that everything worked and everything. You just did everything. You got on with your life, and there's nothing to do with the organisation. But now, when I wake up, I have to organise and plan my whole day, and know what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be at a certain time. Otherwise, my brain will get too confused, and it would throw me. Some people understand, and some people don't. Like my husband doesn't understand it at all. He has no idea.
No, I can understand that. Having gone from not being able to think straight about anything, if I have a little plan or a bit of some sort of organisation for me day ahead, then I know what I'm doing.
Helps.
And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm all focused on doing it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that plan,
You're thrown to
then It's just scramble. I'd be almost the same.
Yeah.
Do you have any long-term planning, or is it all short-term, if you know what I mean?
Well, I used to carve stone and wood, and that was what I did, and I earned money from it. And now I can't do that because of my eyesight, because I could chop off my fingers. And my plan is to get back into carving wood and stone, because that's what I love doing.
Well, wish you every success with that.
Well, that's the intention, but whether it works or not,
To the plan.
It's a plan.
it's a plan.
It's a plan.
And do you remember the day you recognised that was a change in your planning and organising?
Well, I suppose I was in Bowman for 5 or 6 months before I went into rehab. So because everything was done for me, I didn't know what my injuries were. I didn't realise until I went into rehab in Donnybrook, the Royal Hospital in Donnybrook, and they were brilliant. Like, they got me, the OT and the physio and everything. They got me doing all the things that I used to be able to do that I didn't realise I couldn't do.
And then just say there's someone listening to this now. Do you have any kind of advice or strategies you have for them on how to plan, organise now, live with an injury?
And I try and write in a diary. I think writing in a diary is a good thing, because then you can tell what you did and how good the day was, or how bad the day was, or if something happened to you that shouldn't have happened. Through no fault of your own, that shouldn't have happened. Like, I fell a while ago and I broke my wrist, and it was just because I was just going up to bed. I just collapsed. There was no reason for it. It just happened, and I broke my wrist. So don't fall.
Well, I was always making lists, and sometimes I would be so good at making lists, but not actually doing a lot of the things. But you take a couple of them off and write a fresh list. But long-term planning, they're thinking too far ahead. I just sort of gave up on that. But short-term lists, I found that helped me get through the week or whatever, the month, whatever it may be. I always like to focus on something and do it well, but too many things at once, and I get a bit frazzled, Things have to be in their place.
Yes, exactly.
I have to go looking for them, know where they are. It's more important to me than it should be, I think.
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
It stops the confusion in your brain.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We've heard, 3 different stories, and everybody has the same problems.
Yeah.
Similarities.
Brain injuries have been caused by different things, but we still have the same confusion, the same scrambled thoughts, the same.
And very hard to articulate what it is that's actually bothering you. You might know inside, where is that thing? But there's more going on, I think,
Yeah. And with as far as planning and organising goes, with the short-term memory, especially the first 2-3 years for me, short-term memory was non-existent. I could remember perfectly what happened 30-40 years ago. Couldn't remember what I said 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Or what somebody said to me 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me to do something, oh yeah, no problem. And then 10 minutes later, did you do that? Did I do what? Gone.
It's like if you put something down and then 2 minutes later you're looking for it.
Yeah.
Where did I put that?
I have found that people's names I can be forgetful of.
Oh, yeah.
Not people you know well, but it's a few people and just forget about it. Until I started using memory packs, where I say your name was John. Your head go, John Wynn.
Okay.
And it worked. It's like you could visualise it, and it really worked for me.
I think you touched earlier on everything having its place, and I think that really helps. So if you are someone that keeps losing your keys, if you come in every day, if you come in from work whilst there, if you come in from being out and about, and you have that one place for your keys, and they're always there, then you're not going to be looking for your keys every time. Or,
so do I.
yeah. Or if you have, you're saying that if you make your lists, if you prioritise top of your lists instead of kind of overwhelming yourself with different things.
Yes, I
You
think
focus on one thing at a time.
I think you're right. Prioritising is really important.
And from a planning and from a planning point of view, I said before, like Headway was a terrific help in helping me try to straighten out my thought processes and I did a motorcycle maintenance course that was arranged by Headway, which was brilliant. It was a bit, I don't know, 10, 12 week course. I can take my bike apart now, put it back together again, and it still works. It's great. Love doing it. It opens your mind up to memory of multiple things, little bits, pieces, where they go, how they operate, how they work. That all helps kind of put structure back into your thoughts and into your thought processes and your memory. And it worked for me. I can service my own bike now and it doesn't cost me a damn thing.
And that's great, because that's really is brain training. That's making your brain work
Yeah,
again
yeah.
the way it used to.
Oh, it is. I would never have probably had the courage to do it before brain injury. But being able to do it now is terrific. A couple of months ago, I had a gearbox problem with it and took the whole thing apart, took the gearbox out, got it all put back together again, and it's perfect.
That's very impressive.
I was very, very pleased, I have to say.
Be careful on that bike.
We don't need another brain injury.
Always keep me helmet strapped.
Yeah.
I think energy levels is another thing that really affects our planning and organisation. If you're going to take something on when you're fatigued or when your energy levels are low, for me anyway, I think that's a huge factor. I'm sure some of you have that similarity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do a list again. And,
Yeah.
put it off. Yeah.
I'd say you're bang on. It's like if you don't have the energy to see it through, then there's a good chance it's not going to get seen through. Absolutely. I would agree with you. Energy levels, tiredness, fatigue, all new things, but compensate for that by having the odd snooze along the way. I'm sort of getting the hang of that now.
I think maybe because I was always very fit, I was swimming and walking, and I can actually walk up to 3 hours a day, and I need to walk for that because when I walk I can orientate where I'm going, because the minute I go out the door I'm lost. I've lived in the same place for years and I go out the door and I'm saying, okay, now where am I going? Do I turn right here or left here? So I lost all my sense of orientation. And I used to be really good at reading maps and knowing where I am, and that's gone. I call them spatial awareness, and knowing where I am is gone.
How do you kind of compensate for that then? If you're,
I go the same route every day, and if I keep turning right, keep turning, and eventually I end up back where I was.
yeah. In a way, you're kind of orienteering that as well. You're thinking that through, and yeah.
Routine,
exactly.
I just remember something about routine, and when I was living on my own, I cooked and I ate the same dinner every day for about 6 months, and I'd go down to the supermarket every day and wouldn't have to think about what I was going to buy and too many choices, and I ended up buying the same thing. I got home and I had it down timing wise perfectly, how long the spuds would take, the greens, the fish cakes it was, and it was only afterwards I thought every day for 6 months, that's kind of peculiar. But I enjoyed the routine of it, knowing exactly how long it would take, and
you got a sense of achievement
and a comfort in the routine and the structure of it, and didn't get addled in the supermarket going, what am I going to buy, Yeah,
the lack of structure is probably one of the biggest changes that you're going to have to kind of compensate for or live with in terms of anything after a brain injury, whether it's planning or operating in any kind of way. Without the structure, without the little things, memory, names, and at the beginning it can also seem so important. I can't think of his name, or I can't think of what to call that. It was so important, and it took me probably a couple of years to get to the point where I don't care what his name is. And after that you can kind of let it go a little bit, but you still think you're fine. It's everyone, what's his problem, what's her problem? What does she want now? Not what's wrong with my understanding. That doesn't come into it.
The most frustrating thing for me was when that happens, and I completely relate to what you're saying, but friends and family were supportive, but they would often say, Sure, that happens to me all the time. I forget that all the time as well. That happens to everyone. And it's almost, I can't even think of the right word, but it's almost brushing what has happened to you and the fact that you have a brain injury under the carpet.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. Yeah.
I think a lot
Even
of
though
that,
they mean well.
a lot of that is understanding. Family and friends are supportive in one way. They don't understand
don't
what it is you're
understand.
going through.
Yeah.
And that's where what I was talking about earlier on, that's where the despair and the hopelessness kind of comes into it. Because I keep muddling along going, I'm grand, nothing wrong with me. They're going, this is never going to change. So they just they don't understand what it is you're having a problem with or why you're having a problem with it. And it's easier to kind of brush it away than face up to it in some ways. Again,
That's
Same
why
things.
I think Headway is great, because they understand exactly what's going on,
Yeah.
where other people do not understand. And you guys get what's going on.
and they don't judge.
And they don't judge.
Other people do.
Yes, exactly.
People can kind of go, brain injury, stay away from him. Without the brain injury, you wouldn't be here in Headway.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's so much to it that you're just not prepared for. Nobody knows. I had never heard of a brain injury before I had one. Never occurred to me that somebody could live if they injured their brain. Then you sort of come across things like 13 to 15,000 a year in Ireland. Why does nobody know? Why isn't it?
I didn't realise that figure.
Why isn't it publicised? Well, anybody that has a stroke, aneurysm, anything, like you and I, fractured skulls, whatever, car crash, you name it. If you wind up banging your head, you have a brain injury. There's 13 to 15,000 a year, and nobody knows about it in this country. It's a privilege, and it's an honour to be sitting here talking about it and trying to make people aware. And hopefully somebody listening to this will go, I didn't realise. Ring Headway, get fixed.
Just touching what some of us have been saying, I think we're getting away from the organising thing a little bit, but anyway, how other people sort of, because it's like an invisible wound, the head injury.
Yeah.
Other people, even close family and stuff, kind of, they don't understand, and that's fair enough, but it's almost, you should be over it, to forget about it.
Yeah.
I lost my sense of smell because of the accident, and nobody remembers. Nobody even remembers.
Yeah.
Which I kind of find a bit odd, but it's just one of those things.
And you've been living with that for 30-something years.
Yeah.
Whoa.
My taste went at the same time. My sense of taste, so I just couldn't eat my food. Had to put pepper on everything, and there was this horrible aftertaste in my mouth during the day. But thankfully, after, I don't know, I'd say a year or two, my taste buds learned to kind of operate without the sense of smell.
Yeah.
But what I have now is the consequences of even talk about food. My mouth starts salivating. It is now at the moment. It's how my taste buds have learned to activate themselves.
It's incredible in terms of as you said, talking about planning or the amount of elasticity in your brain and what it can recover from is incredible. It really is, and it's brought it home to me. It's like I was a mess. I'm probably still a bit scrambled from time to time, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
It used to.
I think that's where the planning and organisation comes back in, because you plan and organise to relearn how to live your new life, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to cope. Yeah. Planning and application kind of is a very important part of it, but it can take a while to get back to the point where you can actually achieve it and do it, even on simple things. I'm lucky now that I don't have to check with my wife anytime we're going shopping. I know where we're going.
Routine.
Yeah, 3-4 years ago I hadn't a clue. I had no idea.
And up next, we have Sharon.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I had a stroke in December 2020. It was a rare enough type of a stroke. It was a cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. I was in Tala Hospital and I was lucky that I got there quite early. I actually had the stroke on my way to the hospital, so I was very, very lucky. So since then, I've been recovering quite well. I haven't had any physical, problems since the stroke. It's all been very cognitive, so memory problems and that kind of thing. I suppose planning and organisation has become a huge part of my life since. Done a lot of occupation therapy, so I think really a huge part of my life has changed, as it has done for a lot of people with brain injuries. My life basically went from working a very, I'm in my early 30s. Well, I was when I had the stroke. So I was living a hectic lifestyle. I was working all the time. It was a very hectic job. I was doing a 9 to 5, but my job was also the kind of job where I had to do late night events. So I was always out and about. I was rarely ever home. And then I had a social life as well on the side of it. And then I went from that to suddenly being at home all of the time, back living with my parents. They had to do everything for me. So my life completely changed, and I had to basically tell my friends I couldn't go out with them anymore. I got epilepsy after the stroke. I had to sell my car. So it was just, everything changed for me. And with the planning and organisation, now when I go to the shop, I have to write a list. If I go to the shop, I can't remember anything that I want to buy. I'll walk into a shop and I'm kind of more or less standing there saying, why am I here? Yeah, you guys can relate.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Where am I?
Yeah, my maths is shocking. If I go out for dinner with my friends and we have to split the bill, they could be robbing me blind because I have no idea, basically. I just can't do maths anymore. So I'm back to doing a maths course, and I think my 11-year-old niece can do maths better than me, which is a little bit depressing. So yeah, basically with my medication, I take a lot of medication because I have epilepsy, and I have to get all of my medication in blister packs from the pharmacy because I forget to take them, and I get so tired in the evenings with fatigue that I just look at the medication and I can't figure out which one needs to be taken and which one have I took in the morning, which one needs to be taken at night time. So everything needs to be planned out for me. And that's part of the reason I need to live with my parents now, because if I get so tired, they have to figure it out for me. I can't be trusted. And if I forget to take the right medication, then I risk having a seizure. So yeah, there's no fun there at all. So yeah, I've got Alexa and Google Reminder on my phone all the time because I might have my medication in the blister packs, but I'll still forget to take them. So yeah, if I'm planning to go away on a trip with my family or with my friends, it's not just the same as it used to be. Before, I'd just pack a bag willy-nilly and just go on a plane or hop in the car, where now everything needs to be planned out. I need to, if I was going in the car, I have to make sure there is a stop somewhere along the way so I can rest, so I don't feel sick in the car, any motion sickness or anything like that. I have to make sure when I get to the hotel that I have time to take a nap so I don't get too fatigued. I have to make sure I'm in a hotel and that the key card is working so that when I do get fatigued, I can get into the room and there's 24-hour reception service. Everything now needs to be really thought out, and that I don't have an event planned when I get somewhere that's going to tire me out. So everything is just so strategically planned now, and it used to just be so everything was off the cuff. So yeah, life has really, really changed. And a massive one for me is I used to go to my friends' weddings and hen lights, and now I have to say no to them all the time because I can't manage. I have sensory issues and I can't manage to go to anything that's too noisy. So I have to say no, and I feel like I'm letting my friends down. I can go to a wedding, but as soon as the band starts and the band start playing, that's my cue to leave the wedding. And that's just when the crack is about to start. So, yeah, I feel like I'm being very negative, but I'm not, because I look at my life as the pre-stroke and the post-stroke life. And I know that I'm so lucky to be here, and that I love my post-stroke life. I'm really looking at it as a second chance of life. I've met some amazing people in Headway and through the Irish Heart Foundation, and some of the work I'm doing now since my stroke is amazing. I've done some unbelievable things with both Headway and the Heart Foundation. I'm doing a lot of volunteer work. Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate in the work I've been doing.
Do you put your medication in all those weekly plastic boxes?
No, I
At
actually
the start of the week?
get
you
it
do
done in the chemist. They do it for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
That should help a bit, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, I had to get it done like that.
I can remember after hospital, I was on a heap of tablets, and they did the same. They had them broken out from morning, evening, and if they hadn't done that, I'd never been able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm finished all those, and that's not a problem for me now. Quite a story.
I know I kind of rambled on there.
No. That's,
Once I start.
No, I can identify with almost everything you were saying.
Yeah.
It's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
there was before, there's now.
Yeah, I look
And
at it both
it's-
ways. Yeah.
Yeah. I would be the same as you in that I feel lucky
Yeah.
to be here. My wife even now calls me, my new nickname is Lucky. As a part of my head injury, I had shattered my right eye socket, and there's a piece of bone gone from somewhere up here. And even the ophthalmologist told me I was lucky that I didn't shatter it down at the bottom, because if I had, the eye would have fallen out and they wouldn't have been able to put it back
Oh
in.
my goodness.
But a piece of bone from up here is now stuck in my right temporal lobe over here, and I actually got to see an X-ray of it. It was amazing. Like, not something you'd recommend to anybody, but you still feel lucky.
Yeah.
Jeez, that could have been a lot worse.
The way I describe it is I'm the luckiest girl in the unluckiest way.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only in your 30s. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so young to
Wow.
have your life so shattered.
Yeah.
Well, I told you I lost my sense of smell.
Yeah.
And they said, that might come back in 6 months, or it might be 10 years. Sometimes it takes 10 years to come back. It's just a nerve that was broken from the impact. And it never came back. I remember building up to those 10 years, and it never did. Never came back. But I had one doctor tell me, he says, that could have been your optic nerve, just so easily. So I was very lucky that,
Yeah.
I'm not blind.
Yeah.
We are lucky because we're here.
Yeah.
And engaging.
For a variety of reasons. I mean, we all have different reasons for being here, but in our own way.
Yeah.
Each one of us is, I actually feel blessed, lucky to
Yeah.
be here. And to be able to sit here and talk about this in a rational way. 4 years ago, I couldn't have done it.
If we all sat in our board of when we all had our brain injuries initially, we probably wouldn't be able to even have this conversation.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Because there would have been nothing wrong with any of us.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to speak. So I don't know.
And our last topic today is with Stephen.
How you doing? I had a motorcycle head injury. It's over 30 years ago now. There was no help at all as far as Headway was concerned. Our group support. And it was a difficult experience. You're still living with it, but this support is great. And you're getting to talk about it and listen to other people. Going through life with that injury, I struggled with everything had to be in its place. I was working as an apprentice printer, and so part of it was good because you had that attention to detail, you could focus on that, and you had time to be there, you had time to stop, there was structure. But as the years went on and you'd moved to a different company and the print machines would change, the pressure would increase. And pressure, I'm not very fond of it, being pressurised. But if you had your routine to stick to, I could do it. Then you'd be on a three-way shift. So you're coming in from some guy and some guy's taking over from you. And the machines be gone 24 hours. And I'd have to tidy everything up and everything have its place to work. And the other two people were taking advantage of that. They go, Steve's going to tidy up, he'll do this. Very stressful. Nowadays, I have an allotment that I keep. And that to me it's like a piece of heaven. Just down there by myself, doing my gardening. I have my routines and organising. Also, I have bad tinnitus, which I'm not sure if it's a direct result of the accident or not. I can't put a finger on when it started. It just sort of creeps into your head, but it's there all the time. That can be uncomfortable as well. Too many people speaking at one time in a room, noise levels, people talking when the TV's on. It's very uncomfortable.
Tinnitus is
Yeah, noise.
the
Ringing
same
in
thing.
ears.
Yeah.
Ever since, and it only started after I got out of the hospital. I had it in both ears. Now it's just this one, but it's here all the time,
Yeah.
and it's just a kind of a little white noise in the background now.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
drive you bonkers.
They say stress can agitate it. Obviously noise. But I find when I'm gardening, it's not there.
No stress.
You know?
Yeah.
When you say noise or a sensory, is it that you find it distracting, or does it give you headaches? Or
It's an overload.
okay,
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I'd be similar.
I'd be the
Loud
same.
music on its own, no problem.
No problem.
But
Noise
loud
overload,
TV,
yeah.
people talking,
Yeah.
even a room if it's tile floors,
Yeah.
and you've got a couple of people, that the noise bounces around,
Yeah.
and it sort of
It
hurts.
really
hurts
hurts.
your
Yeah.
head a bit.
Yeah. Noise and light.
You're just more sensitive to the sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably part of the brain injury in that it's just too much information to be able to process at the same time.
Yes.
It's just too many things getting piled in on top of your head that no, it's I think that's a thing a lot of people kind of struggle with and have to cope with, and to some extent, and some worse than others, is the information overload, or just being able to sort of process all of this stuff, all of these sounds, all at the same time. It can be.
Overwhelming.
It was. I had it, but only for probably a couple of years, and then it kind of eased for me. But it's for some it doesn't. It is a difficult thing to.
Yeah, I think mine's getting
Manage.
worse sometimes, actually. You know,
Yeah,
as time's going on.
yeah. And then, as somebody said earlier on, if you're tired, tiredness or fatigue makes that even more.
Heightened.
Yeah, heightens it more. It makes it worse.
You have to say stop. I've had
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Even still, my wife can tell me when I need to shut down. I call it shutting down rather than taking a nap or whatever else. I need to shut down and reboot.
Yeah.
And she'll tell me when, by my reactions to hearing things or by my voice.
Okay, yeah.
She knows when I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay.
Even my niece does. I mentioned earlier my 11-year-old niece. Sometimes she'll even say, Sharon, you look racked, go to bed. Yeah.
And that's probably very good advice
Yeah.
on both parts, because it's like, yeah, you're right. I need to. And the way I see it, the way I look at it is I'm going for a reboot.
Yeah.
I just need to recharge in 30 minutes, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
good again.
Yeah.
It's incredible how much everybody kind of has the same problems,
The same thing. Yeah.
all for different reasons. And
But if I have routine and a bit of structure,
Yeah.
it's I manage, you know.
do you get tired?
I do, yeah.
Like to the point that you need to here, I'm just
I
going
don't
to
feel like doing anything.
yeah, I'm going to shut down. Yeah.
Has anyone been told that, I didn't notice this myself, but has anyone been told that they're very linear? As in, if you went into the shop to buy a green shirt and there was no green shirts, you would walk out of the shop instead of going, oh, there's a brown shirt over there. And it wouldn't even come into your brain to maybe look at the brown shirts or the blue shirts. I never noticed I did that until one day my brother said it to me, and he was kind of like, what about the pink shirts, or what about the white shirts?
Yeah.
And I never noticed it before, but he said that once I have something in my mind, that's all I can focus on, and that is it. And my brain doesn't work any other way.
This is after your stroke.
Yeah, after my stroke. Yeah.
I think I was probably like that before I
Oh,
had
really?
the accident.
Well, the shirt's just an example. I mean, I do it in every way. Once I have
I'm
something
looking
on
for
my
a blue
mind,
shirt. No blue shirts.
that's
next
all I
shop.
can focus on. No, not even the shirts. I just mean in every way.
Yeah.
If I have, even if I'm going for a walk on a Monday, I'm going for a walk. And if the plan changes in any way, that's it. All I want to do is go for a walk. And I'll get really agitated if I can't go for that walk.
Yeah.
I never noticed it myself until it was brought to my attention.
In fairness, that's probably the same with all of us. I mean, Stephen's been living with a brain injury for 30-something years.
Yeah.
A lot you don't know or you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
Until somebody kind of points it out to you and you go, oh, I didn't realise. It's.
I had a friend of mine tell me only yesterday, and he was saying, "You don't like being interrupted." He said, "You, Steve, you don't like being interrupted. If I'm trying to say a sentence or a small story, and that breaking my train of thought, my focus, I get antsy about it.
That's
You know?
very
And
understandable.
I find it hard to jump back in where I was because
Yeah.
um,
So the simple
we're uber focused.
Yeah.
people, you know?
Yeah.
simple answer to that one is then don't interrupt me.
Yeah.
And guys, do you have any advice to all the people listening in today in regards to planning and organising skills?
If you have a brain injury for whatever reason and you're having any kind of trouble with planning or organising, you have scrambled thoughts, your short-term memory is a problem, admit you need help. If you can admit that to yourself, then the next step is, if you admit to yourself you need help, the responsibility for you to go and get help lies with you. If you, once you admit you need help, you can go and get it. Ring Headway. They understand, they don't judge, they help. And they will help you unscramble those thoughts and help with your planning and your organisation and everything else that goes with it, with all of that.
Peter, just say, ask for help. I wouldn't ask for help for a long time, but to ask for help because you need help. And another thing is to stay calm all the time. Don't get into a fluster, because once you get into a fluster, you get stressed and things get worse. So if you can stay as calm and just breathe, and whatever happens, happens, it doesn't matter. The worst has happened to you. Whatever happens next isn't going to be much worse.
Don't let your brain overload. And I think what I learned in occupational therapy was to use technology if you have it, like Alexas or those kind of devices. What really helps me anyway is my phone and notes on my phone. And then if you're not techie, then there's always your diary and to-do lists, that kind of thing, sticky notes. Well, that's if you're forgetful like me anyway, and that's what I'd recommend. And we touched on it as well, but I really think that napping helps as well. I just think it's really good for helping you to get yourself organised, and then going back as well to just not letting yourself get overwhelmed. I think that it's important to let yourself rest. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, well, following everybody's advice, but routine I found very helpful. Try to keep it simple. Don't try to do too much. Talk to people. Talk to Headway. Take time out. Be easy on yourself, you know.
And that brings us to the end of today's exploration to living with changes in your planning and organising skills. Such a valuable discussion, Rachel.
Absolutely, Shane. Our guests have shared incredible insights, and it's clear that adapting to changes in planning and organising is a dynamic and ongoing process.
A big thank you to our fantastic guests for sharing their stories and strategies with us today.
And as always, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners. Your support and engagement makes this podcast meaningful.
If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We have more engaging topics lined up for future episodes.
Connect with us on social media to share your thoughts, questions, and experiences.
Join us next week as we explore the topic of living with changes in your memory.
So, until next time, take care, stay curious, and navigate the twists and turns of life with Headway.